Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Give Me Rent. This is just me today, Brandon, and I'm joined by James Palmieri,
What's up, Brandon? Thanks for having me.
of course, as always. Love having guests come on. So, we're here to have a conversation. I think it's something well overdue from my end. I don't remember if Dylan and Noah have brought it up. They might have in the beginning of the podcast last year, but Marvel Rivals. So, for those that don't know, Marvel Rivals is a game very similar to Overwatch with, your support characters. It just various Marvel characters throughout the universe, whether it's Fantastic Four, the Avengers, solo characters, street tier characters, god tier. What's the best way you think to explain it, James?
I would say it's just like your normal hero shooter. You got Vanguard as a tank role. Your duelists are, damage roles, strategists, support role. It's a 6-on-6, so it's very team oriented. Definitely picking people who mesh well together is a way to utilize the characters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like different. I would say right now, Rivals is in a pretty decent spot. I think the character selection they have is pretty vast, and you could really do a lot with a lot of the characters because unlike your normal hero shooter, where as in Overwatch you have like your set tanks and your set damages and your set supports, there are definitely characters in Rivals that kind of blend two roles together.
They double dip
Yeah,
essentially. Yeah, they
yeah,
double dip. I no, I totally agree with you, especially from somebody who isn't an avid Marvel Rivals player. We have talked about Overwatch before, and as much as I'd rather not reference the game, it was a pretty big inspiration, as you can, and you and I can agree,
oh yeah,
for Marvel Rivals. And it is
absolutely.
a very big team-based game. You have to work together as a team, even if you're playing with randoms. I mean, chemistry, like strategy, it's very strategical, and people may not realize that. You have to be
Yeah.
very smart with who you utilize, what being utilized, when, and like you said before, very vast with the characters, and that's one thing I do like about this game compared to Overwatch is that this roster just does not stop expanding.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like a Super Smash Bros. Game where you just consistently have people being added, consistently people, tweeting at the creators. Not saying that they're gonna cater to the fans, but the community, you know, does agree on certain characters needing to be added to this game for the
Yeah,
future.
absolutely. I think
And
I think the Rivals developers know how to keep the game very fresh because of the cadence of like character releases and patch notes and fixing things based off of what players feel like are broken or underpowered. I believe the character cadence like for every new drop is about like a month. So they're definitely just pumping out new characters like ASAP,
it's
which is
pretty
really
frequent.
good.
It is pretty frequently. And it's at some point, a lot of big name characters are going to be added more. It's going to get to a point where you're going to have such a massive roster that it's going to almost be unfathomable the different combinations you can have on who plays what role and who goes where at that point.
Yeah,
But what do you think are the biggest strengths for this game? We've talked about the roster, we've talked about, you know, the gameplay. Well, how do you feel about maps? I
I
know that's
think
like I know there's a lot of people, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have seen a lot of people complain about certain maps. And
I think it depends how you look at it. I think if you're looking at it in a very like general way, where it's kind of just like, oh, is this map cool? Like, does it look cool? I think a lot of the maps are dope. Like, I think they look really, really cool. But there are definitely characters who have maps that they play better on. Like, I know Penny Parker. There's a game mode is called Convoy, which you cap a point in the beginning if you're the attacking team,
mm,
and then you push a payload to the end of a path. Penny Parker is very strong on those kind of maps, on those kind of game modes, because if you don't know, she's a tank and she could lay down traps. And her traps just keep spewing out of this little like web dispenser, and it doesn't go away unless someone on the other team breaks it. So you could like stick your trap in a really like obscure place where the enemy team can't see it, and it's just like a blanket of traps that can't be destroyed. And she's just a super, super good, super strong lockdown defender. So I definitely do think she excels in those kind of maps. But I could go on and on about all of the characters on what maps they're good on, what game modes they're good on, because that's also a very big focal point with Rivals. But overall, I think Rivals does have a handful of great maps where they're very balanced and they're just cool. I will say there are definitely some sucky maps.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Back to what you were saying though about the catering. It does kind of remind me. I don't know if you played Paladins way back in the day when they were trying to rival Overwatch, but it
Hmm.
definitely, especially the payload, it definitely gives certain feelings of those other games. And obviously, for what they were trying to do with Marvel Rivals, it's kind of hard to escape comparison with two predecessors. But no, I totally agree. It does feel like that there's certain maps where it's so much easier and you have that advantage with certain characters. And Penny Parker is a great example. But I feel like there's some characters that just, like you said, really have to thrive on certain maps. I feel like
Yeah.
everybody is playable. I mean, it's such a great roster too. I mean, it's very diverse. I still think Jeff the Landshark was just a pull out of nowhere. I didn't expect
Yeah.
that at all. Squirrel Girl's popular for like the memes
Yeah.
and the wrong reasons, but yeah, Jeff the Landshark I thought was smart on there, and I feel like especially with how the MCU's been doing and has been struggling, past couple of years with their their projects. Marvel Rivals kind of brought fans back into it and kind of gave them a little bit of that magic, I'd say, for the
Hmm.
characters. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, but people being able to play Black Panther again, I feel like it's connections to these certain characters.
Yeah.
I played as Deadpool, and going back to the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games for those who played, I loved playing as Deadpool in Marvel Ultimate Alliance too. So for me, wanting to play Deadpool in Marvel Rivals has to do with the connection to that character. Love reading him in the comics, love the Deadpool game. I know
Hmm.
some people that love obviously Tony Stark as Iron Man and they are attached to character, knowing the MCU sucks and they're frustrated that he's coming. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, but they're able to play that character and almost kind of relive and. That perfect image of the character stays in their head while playing the game, which I think is very nice. It's very nice that Marvel does have something very, very well going for them because they do have a lot of great games, but when it comes to the longevity or the consistency of games compared to like DC over time, I think DC just narrowly edges it. But it's
Hmm.
nice that they did something that no, other superhero properties done. I mean, they've done great with these superhero team up games. Like I said,
Yeah.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance and now Marvel Rivals, both have been smash hits.
Yeah. And to build off of that, I think that having the characters that maybe people don't know about, like Luna Snow, or like I know a
Hmm.
lot of people didn't know who Angela was. Elsa Bloodstone just came out the other day. Like these characters that a lot of people may not have known existed are in the game. So it kind of, as big as Marvel is, you would think, okay, let's add like the big names. Like, we'll get into that later. But having characters that aren't as big as Iron Man, Captain America, it could cause people to go down like rabbit holes and see, oh, what was Luna Snow a part of? What was Cloak and Dagger a part
Hmm.
of? What was Jeff the Landshark a part of? Like, just like experimenting and branching out into different material that Marvel have released over the years to see where these characters come from because they like playing them in the game.
Hmm.
So I think that's a good extension of how Marvel's like throwing out those kind of heroes as well.
Yeah, it's actually a very good point of people going down rabbit holes, especially with this video game. Because when Jeff the Landshark did first come out, everyone just thought he was adorable. I mean, people like me, and I know there's other fans out there that knew who Jeff was, understand what his role has been in comics, big or small. Very big attraction. There was edits of him everywhere. I know people probably went and looked up who he was. They see other characters, and that's happened with the MCU as it is. But like you said before, branching out into these other characters and seeing, oh, who can we bring into the game? Who can we do with this? I think they're just doing such a great job also touching it to all these different teams. Like I said earlier, you have people that go beyond even the Avengers, beyond Guardians. I mean, I'm even shocked Mantis is in it, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, over Gamora and certain characters.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to start dipping into other fields, I think, of characters. I'm waiting for Nova probably to end up being in at some point, the Nova Corps,
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
There's
cool.
it's only a matter of time before they really start pushing that, especially with now all these other projects coming in. Wonder Man. I don't know if I haven't watched the show, but I can't be surprised if a character like him,
Mm-hmm.
Black Goliath get brought in. There's so many characters that they can start bringing in to kind of branch out their properties. I feel like more villains are probably going to start touching this game sooner or later.
Yeah. That's also a great point. And honestly, I remember reading a couple months back that rival, like it was a rumor. I'm not sure how true this is, but I saw a rumor saying that Marvel Rivals was planning on making their own character.
Hmm.
So making a new superhero and it's canon for the game, and then who knows what happens down the line. Maybe
Yeah.
this character gains traction because people like playing him or her, and down the line they come out with a series on this character or a comic or something like that, like Marvel Rivals comics, just to build the story behind that character even more. Another thing that they do that I really like are that I don't see a lot of hero shooters do in general. They do team ups. So different characters have different team ups with other characters.
Hmm.
So like for example, Jeff the Land Shark, he has a team up with Deadpool.
As he
And
should.
it's funny because like Jeff is linked to Deadpool, I would say the most out of any of other of the characters in the game. If you read the comics and just like look at the history of Jeff the Land Shark, his team up with Deadpool is like he spits out something that just heals his teammates, but it's fresh. Every season, these team ups are changing. They're removing old team ups, adding new team ups. So that's also another thing that I really do like that they do. It adds another touch to keeping the game fresh.
No, I totally agree with you. Team ups with characters with history, and you know, I think down the line we're definitely gonna see a lot more, specifically with the X Men. Just the inclusion of more characters. Who's been the most recent character that's been rumored? I haven't been really up to Marvel Rivals rumors and
So
such, but who's the most anticipated character right now?
right now, since Elsa just dropped, the way people have been kind of looking at it is, believe it or not, there's lore to this game as well. I'm not super, into the lore. I don't really know what's going on.
Hmm.
But a way that people have been figuring out who's coming up next is reading the most recent lore. Elsa just came out, and I believe the biggest character rumored next is probably Cyclops or some other X Men, but I would say it's definitely leaning more towards Cyclops. They're pretty good at keeping it under wraps, I will say.
If that's the case, then Cyclops and Phoenix will probably have a team up together.
Probably.
That I could see happening.
Oh yeah.
But there's not too much I think wrong with this game. I will say some of the takebacks is I do wish that some other characters to just explore other superpowers were added to this game. And also, I do feel like there are some characters that are way too overpowered and just consistently need to nerf,
Yeah.
buff this. I feel like from somebody who has seen Overwatch go from one to two, Paladins, like all the buffing and stuff, it's almost at the point where how have you not perfected a scaling system yet?
Yeah.
And that might sound very close minded of me to say because it probably is deeper than that. But it has gotten to a point where how have you not been able to close the gap where you have to consistently buff and nerf characters? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it does feel like it's very frustrating to go play one week and you have somebody, like, especially when Jeff the Landshark was so overpowered to the point where it wasn't even fun to play the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, what takes you so long to put him on even playing field as everybody else?
Yeah, and that also causes a problem where it's, they look at these super overpowered characters and in the next patch they'll nerf them, and after the nerf they're quite literally unusable because of how bad they are. Like that's a perfect example. I would say Jeff is not in a bad spot right now, but he's definitely in not a great spot. But that leads me into another thought where maybe with the addition of, since how fast they're dropping characters and the cadence of all these characters coming out,
Hmm.
I think that kind of strikes a problem where the characters that were out, when the game dropped, I feel like some of them are going outdated because of how many new abilities these new characters are dropping with, and the old meta, the old characters are kind of having a hard time keeping up. Like Gambit, for example. Gambit just came out, I believe, last season or a season and a half ago. He is broken. He has so many abilities. He has an amazing ultimate ability, and it kind of just like, for ranked, like I play a lot of ranked.
Hmm.
Gambit is either played in every ranked game or banned. There is not a single game that Gambit is not played or not banned. It's one or the other. That's how broken he is.
That
And
goes to show you the power scaling issue too. I
yeah,
mean, it is ridiculous. Like I said, you would expect from time and time again. It goes the same thing towards other games that have to constantly buff and nerf stuff. It's how has there not been a formula or something understood where you have to. I understand a character being dropped for the first time and they want them OP because they want people to use the character. I totally get that. If you want to promote the character, make them OP right off the bat, sure. But have a way where it's like, okay, this is what we're gonna nerf them to put them on an even level playing field. I know some characters have to be slightly better than others, but when you have so many that could fit the same role, like so many support characters, I feel like with all the different abilities, it's not like one's better than the other. It just seems like they have such different abilities that it becomes almost as a preference.
Yeah.
That's how it
No,
should be.
absolutely.
In my eyes, that's how I think it should be.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
And
think. No, go on, go on.
I was gonna say, and just going with the roster, I just feel like there's some characters that I don't know if you have in mind, but I have a couple of mine that I think would be great for them to add.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, a very niche pick by me. I don't know if you know who the Wrecker is, but the Wrecker is a very weird character, I guess, to others, but definitely see him being a tank or something else. I've seen him fight the Avengers, other characters. I've seen him in a lot of Deadpool comics also, so it'd be really cool to see team up with them. I remember because he has a crowbar and that's what he fights with. If I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I think it was like enchanted and given by Loki, so he could team up with Loki. I would like to see cool characters or niche like that.
Yeah.
And we have the X Men. There's no reason we shouldn't have Colossus, who's a very big name in the X Men. Very big brute, giant mutant.
Yeah.
I would love to see him and how he is also. It's funny because a lot of them can now team up with Deadpool now. Another one because he is in the Deadpool movies. I could
Yeah.
see him teaming up with Deadpool, and I feel like that's another character that they should bring in. I mean, he's shown face enough. He's pretty popular. Should put him in at this point.
No, I agree.
What are some of your picks? I know I have a couple more, but I just kind of want to hear from you also.
Yeah. I was thinking like my I have a couple. I wrote a few down. I have War Machine. A lot of people would think he would be pretty identical to Iron Man, but the way I was kind of thinking how rivals could incorporate him is more of a tank
Hmm.
because he has the bigger, bulkier armor, and there's a lot of flying characters in the game right now. So I would say maybe he'd be more of a grounded character where he has sort of like a boost, like resource kind of like flying ability, and maybe he could counter the flyers. Maybe he has an auto locking system that shoots missiles at the flyers because a few seasons ago that was a big problem. Everybody would play a flying character
Yeah.
and it was just not fun. Like that was probably the worst season of Rivals. I didn't play it much.
I remember
It
seeing all
was
those
the
clips.
most broken. Like everybody was flying and it was super annoying. They're definitely less annoying now. A lot of them got nerfed and a lot of hit scan characters got buffed, so it made kind of evened out that meta. But I would love to see Rhodey as a tank. I feel like he would be kind of like a tank duelist mesh, kind of like Cap. I feel like Cap isn't like a main tank. Like he's a disruptor. Like he's annoying to play against. He does good like damage. If you're targeting certain people, but he's not like your main frontliner like a Doctor
Yeah,
Strange or a Magneto.
he's
He's just
not.
that good accessory tank to have for those annoying characters that maybe the people on your team can't counter.
I do think that's a good point. Especially, it's crazy to think War Machine does have a big role in the Iron Man movies and essentially the Avengers movie. And bringing him up, it is funny. How is he not in the game?
Yeah,
That is, that could be me just overlooking it because I know you said before, and I know that as well. But they do have their own lore. Yeah, it is shocking. I mean, where's some other names that you want to pull out of the hat? I do like the War Machine one. I do agree with you that I wasn't playing when there was really any characters flying too much, but I do remember seeing the clips of how frustrated people were.
yeah, no, it was definitely frustrating. I have as a duelist, I feel like this. I feel like a lot of people would agree with me on this one. Ghost Rider. I feel
Yeah.
like he would be such a sick introduction, just because I feel like we haven't seen much from Ghost Rider in a very long time.
And he's a
I
very
feel like that
well-known
would,
character, and people want
yeah,
him too. Like in the live action, people just want to see him again. And I don't disagree with you that who knows when we'll get him again. He's a big name character, but not bad to try to expose him a little bit more to the public. And what better way to do it than Marvel Rivals?
yeah. No, I have him down as kind of like a brawler kind of character where, his main weapon would be like his chains. His ultimate ability would be him like jumping on his motorcycle, just diving into the middle of all the enemies and just like exploding or something like that. Like if you played Overwatch, similar to Junkrat's ult with
Yeah.
his tire, something like that would be sick. And I think including characters that, like adding new characters that were big name, like a lot of people like Ghost Rider, it kind of revives that character in a sense where,
It makes him relevant again.
yeah, it's like Marvel saying like, hey, we didn't forget about him, like let's throw him in our video game and see how people like it, and down the line let's maybe drop a series on Ghost Rider or another movie or something.
It's like essentially like Blade. Remember, didn't the new movie I thought was getting canceled, and didn't it get postponed? And he's in Marvel Rivals, so that's another prime example. I agree with
Yeah,
you. Ghost Rider should 100%.
Blade. This is a not really unrelated topic, but Blade is probably my favorite added character to the game. He is sick. His whole kit is awesome, and I was a big Blade fan like back in the day. But like seeing Blade added to Marvel Rivals was like, holy crap! Like finally something with Blade. Like besides the Deadpool movie,
No, 100. No, I
that's
agree.
dope.
I'm going to just bring up, I know you have one more pick, but I definitely
Mm,
want to bring up my other two. Going
okay,
back to flying, I want to see Green Goblin. I just
ooh,
feel like that's a character, get some more representation, I guess, for Spider Man characters.
yeah,
That could be a bad take by me. I know that we do have Spider Man. It would be really cool to see, just to see Osborn into the game.
yeah.
I know we have Spider Man, Venom. Who else am I forgetting? That's,
Penny, there's Penny as
yeah,
well.
it's Penny Parker.
Yeah, I wouldn't even
I
say
think
that's
that's,
that's not like out of the realm because they have the
no,
entire Fantastic Four. They have a lot of
they
X
do.
Men, so
Well, you
I
can't not do the entire Fantastic Four.
yeah,
There is four of them. I feel like that'd be
yeah.
bad on on their
Especially
end.
if they were adding them as new characters in those couple seasons.
Mhm.
That was I
But
like that season.
Green Goblin as a character would be really cool to me. I feel like having a Spider-Man villain. Now that Venom's an anti-hero, sadly, I feel like adding a villain would be really cool,
Yeah,
and I think that'd be Spider-Man. And then my final pick, I just feel like we haven't gone this realm yet for superheroes in this game is obviously Iceman from the X-Men.
dude.
And people say what you want, but I'd like to see some Frozone type of action with
Yeah,
him. How he would move. I'm just using that for a visual, but how he would move, I guess, essentially. I'd like to see him move like that in the game.
I could totally see him being like a strategist.
And I could see a character like that opening, for other superheroes that have really weird and unique powers. I
Yep.
just think Iceman, there's not a lot of characters in superheroes in general that do control ice specifically. Like, yeah, you have Superman with his breathing, you know what I mean? But there's not a lot of superheroes that do use ice. Off the top of my head, I feel like Iceman
Yeah.
would be a very cool character to add into this game.
No, I agree. And it would be funny to, since we're on the topic of ice, it'd be funny to see him have a team up with like Luna Snow or something because she's very ice based. I think that would be pretty dope.
He's also in the X-Men, so
Yeah, so he'd have team ups with them as well.
it'd be really cool. But who was your last pick?
My last pick, dude, me and the boys talk about this all the time. This is my favorite Marvel character, and I would love to see him added to the game. I have Miles Morales as a strategist. And I know people are like, oh, like, why strategist? He's essentially just Spider Man, like,
Yeah.
swing around, beat the hell out of people, swing away. But I would love to see him as a healer because, quite frankly, I don't think he's similar at all to Spider Man because, he has the electric powers, he has invisibility, like, he has, like, so many, like, non Spider Man powers that they could make a character on that. And I would think, like, maybe he can make like a field around him, and any teammates in that field that are invisible if they're not moving, and while
Hmm.
they're invisible they heal. Or he would kind of be like a strategist duelist mesh where it's like maybe his healing isn't that crazy, but his crowd control is really good. He's good against like other divers or other characters where it's like, okay, this Black Panther is beating the hell out of my back line. Let me put on Miles Morales to, counter that Black Panther. Or maybe he's just a certain counter to a certain group of duelists or tanks or something like that. Using his electricity to slow down people or damage boost his teammates or something like that. A cool move that I was thinking of, actually, it's Overwatch inspired. I don't know if you know a lot about Overwatch, but Life Weaver, he has a move where he kind of shoots out like it's like a grab. So like let's say my tank goes and dives the enemy's back line and he overextended and he's not going to make it back for the healers to heal him. Life Weaver would throw out a grab and he would grab that tank and bring him back to the back line quicker, and while he's grabbed, the tank's invincible. So he can't die, but he can't attack. It's just kind of a get out of jail free card for
Hmm.
your teammate. So I would love to see something like that on Miles, where maybe my Cap is over in the back line beating the hell out of the enemy supports, but he's getting cooked, so he needs help. Like our healers can't keep up with healing Cap, so Miles Morales shoots a web, pulls him back, heal him up, and get him back in there. Something like that, or even you could grab an enemy with it too. Like you grab an
Yeah.
enemy with your electrical web, and
Mm.
after you grab them, they're slowed, or their damage is reduced. They take more damage, something like that.
Yeah.
Just to have like cool abilities that Miles might use with electricity or invisibility that could buff your teammates or nerf your
Yeah.
enemies, something
There's a
like
whole
that.
new just a whole new variety overall with these characters.
Yeah,
Not something so simple. I totally agree with you. Especially with the future of this game. And it always goes through the phases, I feel like, of it kind of falling off back, which is a good sign, meaning the game can always still stay relevant. But no, I agree with you. I think they need to be very smart, especially when adding somebody like Miles, or even if they somehow add Spider Woman down the line, whoever else, any web slinging characters, or even Carnage if people want to say he's too similar to Venom. But I agree, they need to be very not, I wouldn't say niche is the word with these abilities, but they do have to think outside the box to provide, different gameplay. It's not at that point just like a skin change. It's not the same
yeah,
character. You really want everybody to differentiate from each other. They all in the comics, like not every Spider-Man's the same as it is. Like 2099 obviously doesn't have spider sense and stuff like that, so that's how he differentiates from Peter Parker, and even other reasons they differentiate from each other. But they're not all the same, and you don't want to see that in the game because at that point, it's like you might as well make a skin for a character and make it the 2099 skin if you're going to make it
yeah.
identicals. But
Make
no,
it
I
the
agree with you.
Miles skin.
People like Miles do have to have those unique abilities and have those play if their purpose in those gameplays in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot that needs to be changed in this game, so I think I'm very excited for the future of it. What do you guys think? Do you guys think, our takes were good on who should be added? What was good about the game? What isn't? What are your guys' thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Brandon.
James.
We'll catch you guys next time.